Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 12th episode of the Sonrisa Dance Podcast. You see, I still get nervous. You know how just gets nervous. So,
Yeah.
yes, I have a wonderful guest lined up with me here today. Somebody who, especially because I've been getting a little bit of feedback from the community that we want a little more representation with women in our community, and so I actually did want to reach out to you because I feel like you're somebody who's kind of newer in our community, who's become more a new business owner and somebody who can shed a little bit of light of like getting introduced into more of the business side of dance. But before I get too much into that, do you want to give just a brief introduction of who you are and what you currently do?
My name is Erika Menjivar, and I own the Level Up Dance Studio in Signal Hill, kind of still the Long Beach area because Signal Hill is inside of Long Beach.
Yeah, it's a city within a city.
And we teach all the popular Latin social dances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's excellent. Like, especially because I know that's more of a recent endeavor for you. Like, how long ago? Because I know I only saw the post just a couple months ago that this started, right?
Yeah. So, do I look at? Okay.
Believe
I was
me, yeah, I know. Believe me, especially for anyone who's only listening and not watching.
Yeah.
It's always tricky with people like where you should look.
I was
but
like, should
wherever
I
you
look
feel
at
comfortable.
okay,
It's
I will
our
look
conversation,
at you. Yeah.
so we can look at each other.
So yes, I did post it about a few months ago. I think it was probably in November.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, I have now owned the dance studio for a year.
Oh, okay. So you've actually
yes.
owned it longer than
yes.
it's gone public. Right?
I just, there's like a lot of nerves when you're posting something like brand new out there, and you kind of want to establish it before like you make, well, at least that's how I feel. Like I want to establish it before I make noise about it. So then that's why I was like, you know what? I'm going to take my time, I'm going to grow it a little bit, and then I'll be able to post myself and be like, yay!
Yeah, I think I can understand that because I know, like, especially with me starting this too, like there's, there, and other people who have talked to me about starting any other kind of business stuff, like, you kind of want to make sure there's a foundation because you don't want to like start, making waves. In reality, it's just like a puddle.
Right, exactly.
And so I get that. So I'm curious because that's like something really interesting. Because how long have you been in the community as far as like, from when you started and how'd you got to this point to like owning your own business and own studio?
So I've been in the community for 5 years, and it basically all started because my sister was looking for a wedding choreographer for her wedding dance.
Oh, okay.
And she had called this dance studio, Dance Sport and Fitness, and she had asked him about choreographing her wedding, and he was like, I would be happy to do it. But I also want you to feel very comfortable, and I want you to basically like me and feel that you are learning and can take classes from me and just have a very comfortable situation. So he suggested that she would take like a 6-week series course.
Okay.
And so then she came back to me and she was like, I'm going to take salsa lessons and you're taking them with me.
So she just roped you along to be more comfortable?
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. So we went in and it was a great experience because that was the first time I ever did organized dancing in a dance class. And from there, it was, the classes were wonderful. I think it was one of the best environments that I had been in because it's such a controlled environment. Yeah. When you think about it, like people who go to the dance studio are looking for a hobby or looking to meet people. Yeah. And, there's no, it's something that's like very different. Like when you go, elsewhere, there's no like drinking because you're going to a class, so it's kind of it's like a really controlled environment where everyone's kind of nervous. It's like their first time, and so it's easier to kind of get along. I don't know if that makes sense. Not get along, but it's more like everyone's kind of at the same base as you.
Everyone's there specifically for a reason because there's no other reason why you'd be there for other fun or other distractions. Right. You're there for dancing and take classes.
I think that's what made the class so fun. It's just that I one had my sibling, but two like got to see this like whole different environment, and it wasn't like Zumba where it's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever been to a Zumba class, but they so like they just start There's no like
there's like no warm up.
There's no breakdown.
Okay.
It's just like move after move, and you like see the people up front that like have like done these moves for like their whole life, and they're like killing it, and you're just like, whoa, like. You guys are amazing, but I'm way back here, like trying to figure out.
I'm still trying to catch up 2 moves ago.
Exactly. So it wasn't like that because everything is like broken down, like really broken down into detail.
Yeah.
And so that I think also made the learning process like, and that class particularly, so much fun and so easier.
That's really interesting because definitely you went into that more professional, like because there's the ballroom and stuff. I know a lot of others tend to start off like either at the classes at bars or clubs or whatever. And so did you like once you started getting more into the community, did you notice a big difference in like your early classes, and what did they feel a little more structured, or do you feel like people in studios have to structure classes a little more than what you normally see out in like club like classes?
Yes, because there's definitely more of a syllabus when it comes to like a studio. Yeah. So anyone who teaches in a studio knows that your students are coming for the specific class reason. Yeah. And so they're coming to learn, and so you have to like legitimately break down movement, actually teach them the steps and go through with it. Yeah. So a little bit of what's difficult when you go to a club versus like a dance studio is for the club there is sometimes like a break in between, like this is beginner level, this is intermediate, but not all of them were like that when I initially went. Yeah. Right? So it's like you could get lost in the shuffle. So if you wanted to go to learn to dance, it'd be more difficult for you to be like, excuse me, can you like break down like that movement, because they have such a set time, and then
they have to rush through it.
And then the the socialized dancing starts.
That makes more sense, especially because there's especially in clubs there's a lot more drop-in stuff versus a lot of people I know sign up. Well, actually, I really don't know because I've never actually gone to take classes at studios. Yeah. But at least from what I've seen in some advertisement stuff is that it's a couple of week-long courses. Yes. So you progress continuously with certain people.
So how that is like a major point is that you have consistency. Yeah. So the people that you start with are basically the people that you end with. Mm-hmm. So how our studio functions is it's a 6-week progressive series. Okay. So you build on every week beforehand. Mm-hmm. So if they miss like 1 week, they don't really miss the material. They just miss the opportunity to practice it. Okay. And there's so much breakdown in between, and they get to like the final pattern, but the pattern isn't the purpose of like why they're there. Yeah. It's like actually based on like technique and fundamentals and like breaking down. So that way, if you are as a follower led into something, exactly.
You're prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and it's honestly like that's probably like something that I've been questioning a lot about. Like whenever I talk about our community and how they're learning and how there's unfortunately a lot of bad leads and a lot of bad follows who make back lead and things like that. Right. And I think I was kind of caught like questioning myself why that tends to happen, and I think there's no real structure outside of the dance studio that people can learn progressively, unless you're either learning at the same time at a dance studio or being part of a dance team where it's another version of that consistent like practice.
Well, even so then, and I think this is like where probably it might be controversial, is like when you're part of a dance team, sometimes people only want to do choreography. Yeah. Like that's all, like that's what they want. And there's nothing wrong with that, because like you are definitely expressing yourself and it is beautiful. Like the finished product is, amazing. But learning choreography doesn't necessarily mean that you're learning a dance. Yeah. Yeah.
Or not social dance.
Sorry. Social dance.
And I know, and it's one of those things I'm definitely learning to be very specific about, like, even the purpose of why someone's dancing. Right. Like I've had some friends or some, I guess quote unquote dance friends, people I see in the dance floor a lot, and I've asked them about being on teams, because I've seen people who perform one style but only social dance another style, and it's because they like the performance style of maybe one, but don't like transferring that over into the social dance.
Which I can definitely respect, and I actually commend them for, because sometimes I think that when it comes to social dancing, or like how it's evolved, is that people are more focused on performance dancing when they're social dancing.
Yeah,
And
it tends to come out.
yeah, and it's a lot, and it's just like, okay, it looks great, but it's not actual social dancing.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like you get not so great leads, because in their minds they're like, look at this move that I just did.
Yeah.
But social dancing is, I want to say, one of the most difficult types of dance.
Yeah.
Because you're in an environment where you don't know the person.
No.
You're on a dance floor that you've never been on.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's your first time.
Yeah.
And you're listening to a song that maybe you don't hear often, right?
Or maybe it's a new
Yeah,
song.
maybe it's a new song. And there's so many instances where you can fail, quotation marks around fail, because it's like that other person can't like necessarily read your mind.
Yeah.
But it's all about like recovery. And so if you have these like mechanized ways of like dancing, because you've like learned choreography, but the person that you're dancing didn't learn that choreography, there's so many more opportunities for like what I call manhandling. Yeah. So that does tend to happen a lot more.
And that I see a lot. Like, and you know, it's funny. I love how the internet works. Like, obviously with all, especially now recently with like the dance community really jumping into like a lot of memes, just like the rest of the internet's meme culture. I've been seeing, like, I'm literally even on a group on Facebook where we share nothing but dance memes, because there's so many things that are so consistent in our community that are just like not good things. Like, for example, the whole manhandling of how men just, you know, for example, like they only learn from looking at somebody, like, oh, here, the hand's up, so you have to move. No, you haven't actually told her to move.
There's no direction.
Signal, there's no, you know, you're not actually leading anything. You know, and so and
it's one thing that, like, because my mentor and instructor Bernard, he told me, he's like, leaders is a very strong term. We're guiders. He's like, we have to.
True.
He's like, we have to learn, or we have to earn the opportunity to guide the follow. And it's like, yes.
I definitely do agree with that. And actually, you know, I wish that'd be an interesting thing to even want to like change the verbiage or just the wording of it. Because like, actually, that's another big thing that I don't think I've ever really shared. That's actually one of the reasons why, like, my dance style focuses a lot on, like, you know, focusing more on connection and understanding the partner, because I'm so sad I don't remember who told me it, but I was taking a class with somebody, and when they were teaching about leading, they mentioned, like, you're never telling someone what to do, you're asking. And so guiding is actually even a better word, I feel like, but still, it's like one of those things, you're not commanding a partner in the dance floor, like you're sharing the space, and so you should never, like, there's so many times I've bailed on a move like halfway through because, you know, I didn't execute it properly, or they just maybe don't know that lead, and so they don't know what to do with that certain movement. And so I know better, like, I'm not gonna like string the arm around when they don't want to move. And so,
like this.
And it's funny because, like, they'll recognize sometimes that there's sometimes like that awkward, like, oh, I know you wanted me to do something, but
and then
I'm so
didn't
sorry.
do it.
Oh no. And then I'm just like, no, like sometimes I'll even verbally say it on the dance floor, like, it's okay, I confused you, that's my fault, don't worry about it. Like, but yeah, and I feel like more people need to be comfortable with, like, you know, if you can't do the move, just bail. Like, it's perfectly okay to fail a move.
I love that, because, like, in our class, like, we always say, like, if you don't remember what you were trying to do, go back to basic. Like, it's so, like, it's such a safeguard. Just do your basic and then try again. But, like, now that you've collected your thoughts. Because it's better, you know, for your follow, so she's not like, what just happened?
Because it needs to be fun. And like you said, like, everyone, I feel like there's a lot of people, not everyone, I don't want to say, like, a bunch of, you know, hyperboles, but there's a lot of people I see in the community that, you know, it does feel like they're performing. It feels like they're just pulling out routines or pulling out patterns. And, you know, especially with, like, some of us who have, like, a little bit more of a trained eye, like, we've either spent time teaching people or had enough experience to understand that connection. You can even see it sometimes on the dance floor. You're like,
Yeah.
you're not like.
And then,
you're
but
not-
then you know it's like difficult on the other hand because like someone who doesn't have that eye and watches that, they're like, "Dang, did you see that? That's so amazing!"
Yeah.
And then it like perpetuates throughout like the culture because then it's like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that same movement,"
Yeah.
but then who knows? Maybe the person who did it initially did it correctly.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of, like you said, visualizing,
Yeah.
and then they try to replicate it, but without having learned
Yeah,
the
how to-
actual movement and,
Yeah.
or guiding it.
No, yeah, and I mean, I'm guilty of that as well.
Yeah.
Like growing up, like in the community, because I'm definitely someone who doesn't have a lot of studio background.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of team experience.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a kind of a weird enigma when it comes to the
Yeah.
community because I don't really have any of that background experience.
Right.
I think the only experience that I really have is even when I first started to learn to dance, almost immediately after the first year of me dancing, I was mostly because I was trying to support the friends that taught me. I was thrown into classes just to kind of as an extra
Oh,
body.
yes.
But because I had one-on-one experience with them to learn that I've heard and repeated because I took the classes a lot,
Right.
the basics. And so even in those classes, when I had somebody one-on-one, I would help correct, like, oh no, yeah, your foot should be here, or I think
Yeah.
they mentioned having your arm here.
Yeah.
And I got to test even from the very beginning the teaching part for whatever little I learned, and I've
Yeah.
learned what was right or wrong because I got to like talk to somebody and
Right.
work that out. And as I got deeper into the community, or like my general experience, and I was a couple more years in, I would start picking up moves by watching
Right.
people on the dance floor. So I know I was guilty of that.
Yeah.
But I also understood that when I saw it, I would take the time to ask friends, like, "Hey, can I try practicing
Yeah.
this with you? Because I don't know how to actually
See,
lead
you
it."
did the extra
Yeah,
step.
I did the extra one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and so,
Yeah.
it's funny for stuff like that, like especially with you having, classes and stuff at your studio. Whenever you think about structuring classes, do you ever pay attention to the moves that are common in the dance community, and do you ever put any thought of like, oh, maybe these are maybe movements or safeguards or things you should learn because I see it a lot to try to prevent that confusion out in like social dancing, or I don't know if you've ever thought of that, or
So I assist mainly because I feel that although I have a lot of experience, because once it took off, like I did unlimited. I was at the studio Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, like almost every day, taking 14 hours of classes a week, right? And although like I have probably years of experience within the small years, I feel that I want to be very set when I like teach.
Yes.
And it's soon because it's going to happen this year. But I want to make sure that I'm like teaching the right thing. And knowing like how to explain something to someone in so many different versions, because like everyone learns different, so I can't just be like, this is the one way that I'm teaching. I have to like be able to modify my response. So I have the wonderful gift / opportunity to work with my instructor and mentor, who's Bernard Martinez, and he has, I want to say, almost 30 years of dancing experience. He came from New York to here to California, so like he knows like certain movements, like how to safeguard or how to do checks or how to like implement those when he's like teaching a pattern in the classes. And so I think about those things because I have been learning to lead, and it's so funny because like I'll do them, but then I also do them because like as a girl I think like, what is it that I would want a lead to do in this instance for me so that I know. And so then when I'm like leading in the class, because like now instead of taking classes as a follower, I'm taking them as the lead, and I'm like assisting and like reversing the choreographies, which is like, or the patterns, which is like, I don't even know how to explain that to you. So you have to go in as a girl, right? Because you're demonstrating. And then once you like go out towards like your students, you have to lead as the guy, but you didn't watch the guy part, so you're just like, okay, what did he do and how do I lead this? And so then I'll lead the pattern and I'll make those small like minor checks and balances or checks, sorry, balances.
Well, I mean, kind of
balance
is important.
So I'll do the checks, or I'll like make certain movements so that it's like it's clear to a follower, and they're just like, oh, like I so appreciate that. Like you do that, but the other leads don't do that. And then like I'll take that in mind, and then I'll go back to like Bernard, and I'll be like, oh, you know, like the guys aren't doing the check here, and then he'll like go over it and reinforce it.
You know, that's something I definitely want to hit on before we stray too far from it. But I do agree with like you know, once you get an opportunity to try the other side, like whether you're a lead to a follow or follow to a lead, that can tremendously affect the way you dance.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I think that's like probably one of been the bigger experiences that I've been learning in the last couple of years. Even though I don't do it as much, and I have a good friend Alan who just he does it all the time, and
I watch the videos. I'm like, wow.
I'm just like, wow,
so
like,
good.
You can dance so well now, like, and it's definitely improved the way he leads. But especially when it comes to the teaching part, I'm just like, I feel more people need to like take the time to try to do the other side, to try to follow, to try to lead, learn a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Because you know, sometimes you don't understand what you're missing, like either in your half, and so. Like I think that's another big thing that like helped my dancing style, and even sometimes when I help teach some people, whether it's in a classroom setting or just somebody who's randomly asking, I'm just like, oh, I didn't realize that was an issue.
Yeah, I think so. It's kind of sad to say, but like the followers are at the mercy of the leader for the majority of the dance.
Part,
and so I think when the follow learns how to lead, it's more so that you gain kind of sympathy, because you understand like, wow, like it's a lot for guys when they're learning how to lead. It's a lot because you're learning about your own like space, you're learning about your own movement, how to keep yourself centered and balanced, and then you're also thinking about 3 moves ahead.
Yeah.
So
the timing, you know, where your weight is,
timing, tempo, and direction.
And then you have to basically do all that for your partner.
Exactly. So it definitely opens your eyes, and you're just like, wow, that's a lot. But for the lead, I think they get the most benefit, because it's like, if you were to lead yourself and you felt that you were getting yanked around, do you think that is the right lead?
Yeah.
And then, but I don't know if people like do that assessment within themselves, because I don't know if they like, because I haven't seen very many males follow, but that's just because I haven't been out and about. Like I've seen Alan with the videos, and like that's amazing. So commendable to him. But like I do want to preface, like if you are learning to follow and you feel like you are getting yanked around, like that's not the right lead.
Yeah.
So don't like go in thinking like that's the appropriate way, you know? Like if you're learning, like think about it and be like, how can I improve that movement? How do I get the follower on the correct weight change so that when I do that, she's like relevating on her lightest, and I can, you know, do this mambo jazz or, you know, create this movement and have her feel like, wow, like we just did that move and I have no idea what you were trying to do.
You know, it's funny, like especially for the leads, because again, it's super important to them because they have to understand how to lead. I almost would like to recommend anybody who has the opportunity, if someone's willing. Like, I mean, I don't. This would be kind of hard to recommend because you'd almost have to recognize somebody who isn't a good leader for whatever reason. Typically, they tend to be a hard lead, but there are times somebody's too soft also.
Yes.
And they're lacking in what they need to move a partner. If they find somebody who's a little, in fact, probably I guess the best way to say is if you can find a beginner that you can just try to follow, and somebody who's hopefully willing to lead you. Try it, because I think that will be very eye-opening, because you'll see a lot of the mistakes that are very common in the community, and even for somebody who's been dancing for many years. Like, so I don't know. I just think more people need to be just trying the other side either way. But like, how do you feel like, especially with teaching and stuff like that? Because you know, even taking the chance to learn the other side and stuff like that, like just even going back into the teaching thing, like that whole thing is you know, it takes time, it's an experience, it's its own skill, and I need people to also to understand that teaching is a different skill than being a good dancer.
Yes, it definitely is. And you can be a wonderful teacher and a not so great social dancer.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're able to understand movement and see where you can, like, correct. It kind of, like, goes for me, like, when I see, like, the heels videos. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched.
Like the guys who like actually take the time to learn heel classes and stuff like that, because it's difficult. It's something we almost never get to put on.
Right, right. So like sometimes I watch the videos, and I don't want to like name anyone, but like I'll watch the choreographer, and she'll do the movement, and it looks good, but then she like bestows some sort of magic on her class or like some of the students, and they look better doing it than she does. And it's not necessarily that, you know, it takes away from like her teaching or her dancing ability. It's just that she has taught them how to like move their bodies correctly and like just execute the moves correctly.
Yeah, and I think that's its own great merit to have the student overtake the teacher, because the teacher was good at like teaching and passing along their knowledge and having the student grow from that, even from there.
And I think it's just like, you know, that culture where it's like I have to be the best at this thing, and no one can surpass me, and if the minute that they do, like, what is my purpose, and like, you know, like I think there's so many of those feelings sometimes in just general life that causes for the students not to learn as well, you know, because it's egos, basically. It's egos. And so when you become a teacher, it's not really about you anymore, because like your students are coming to learn, or they're coming for something else, because it's like they could be coming just for like I said, hobbies, friendships, and it's your job to create that safe environment for them to feel like they can be themselves. Yeah. Which is like, again, what I love about when I went to my studio now, and I love the fact that it was so family oriented. Yeah. And I never felt from my instructor that it was like, well, I'm better than you. I never felt that. Yeah. And I never hope to push that on any of my students. Yeah. Like, what I want for them to feel like is, dang, I learned how to do this in this many weeks. Like, look at me now. Like, can you see, like, my first video? Like, I, like, hype them. Because I'm just like, do you remember when you first came here? And, like, look at you now. Like, that's the type of energy that you have to put out there. Like, let someone be their best versions of themselves. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny, for something like that, I've even, like, been trying to, like, recommend more people at any stage of their dancing career to record themselves. Because especially if they expect themselves to be in the community for a lot longer. Oh my goodness, yes. Oh man, like, it's funny, actually, that's something people don't like sharing that. I actually have my first, like, one of my first videos, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna save this post, because I am gonna post it, but I'm just like saving it. Yeah. And then like weeks later I'll post like the after, because I want to focus on just that one. I don't want the before and after together. I just want you to see the first one, so that way you can be like, holy crap. Yeah, just to be able to take it in. Yeah. And, you know, I kind of agree with that, myself. And it's so sad, because I really don't have a single video of me really dancing within, like, for the first, like, for, like, the first 5 years. I don't have any videos of me dancing. Like, there's probably a video or two, like, floating around somewhere on YouTube. Of like me dancing for like a split second, and like you just see it's just like this, like the pan out. And you wouldn't even recognize me, because that was the stage of when I had my long hair. Okay. And so some people might not even recognize me, but I do have one video of exactly 5 years into dancing. Okay. And I remember when I recorded it and watched it back, because I posted it. Yeah. It's on Facebook somewhere. You were like, I'm a badass. I was so happy. It's like, this is a fun dance. And I look at it now and I'm just like, oh no. Oh no. Like, but you, like, that's the thing, like, you have to be so proud of, like, that person and that stage of life, because it's just like, that person if they saw you now, like they'd be so excited.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like they had to go through all like the awkwardness
Yeah.
of learning or like the weird body movement
Yeah.
to like get to like the solid foundation.
Yeah.
And like I think we're so focused on like seeing that like pizzazz, the beauty,
Yeah.
like the finished product that it's just like so unattainable.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important to put like those first time or like, you
Yeah.
know, 5 years into it
Yeah,
videos.
those early progress videos.
So that people can be like, okay, this is something that I can do. Like
Yeah.
instead of feeling like, dang, I'm never gonna be like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Especially a lot of people hit plateaus where they're just like, I'm not learning anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel like there's room. Like,
Right.
like I don't know if I can keep learning.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I even had a similar thought. Like I haven't posted it because
Yeah.
I need to dig for it. But
Yeah.
I want to repost that entire dance of myself of like back
Just
in
that one,
2012 just
Yeah.
to share it and just be like, hey, like this is me. Like
Yeah.
what, even now 8 years ago, and
Right.
it's just like, oh wow, like
Yeah, plus
definitely-
you have to be super forgiving of yourself
Yeah.
and know that there are going to be times where there's like peaks and like valleys where
Yeah.
you're going to feel like you plateaued and
Yeah.
maybe it happens for a few months, but then you're going to go through like a learning process all over again.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to feel comfortable with always learning,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and it definitely like it goes back to even when it comes to sharing stuff like that, or even recognizing that you're sometimes not as good as you would like to be. It's just, you know, it's just it's our terrible, just innate like thing. Like we only want to present the best of ourselves because we're afraid that anybody could come down on us and like mock us or put us
Right.
down for
Right.
you know for anything, literally anything.
Right.
We're so afraid.
It's really that social media culture though,
Yeah.
because it's like live your best life. Your
Yeah.
best life is on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's definitely something I feel like not enough people like that's one thing I never like to blame the social media, because social media is nothing but us. It's not
Yeah.
changing us. It's just literally just exposing us for who we are
Yeah.
and what we like. We would have the same insecurities as we already do in social media. It just social media
I
just
think
put
it's
it at a larger
amplified.
scale.
Yeah, I was like, it's definitely amplified.
Yeah, but it's still
and then I think yes, it's us, but I also think everything is perfect lens.
yeah.
And so then that's why sometimes like social media can be like toxic.
Yeah.
A little toxic.
And that's the reason why I'm even trying to put more presentation or more eyes on the fact that, you know, a lot of people need to close their ears to not just the good but not just the bad but the good.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't really pay attention unless it's like actual criticism,
Right.
and just take the criticism for only to get better.
Right.
But whether it's somebody complimenting you or scolding you or dissing you or whatever you want to say it, you shouldn't take too much merit in someone else's words, and you should just honestly do what you want. Be comfortable with not being super great, and again, and that I'm doing it. Like I'm
Yeah.
sharing as much as I can of you know, like even what I do here.
Right.
Like I'm recording literally off my phone, and
Yeah.
I post, you know, like I want to post a video of me when I was not as a good dancer.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like anything. It's experience to get comfortable to
Right.
be like.
And then I want to preface like criticism, like critiques that from people like that
Yeah.
are close to you. I feel that's the ones that you should listen to, because I feel like they're the ones who know you the most. So it's
Yeah.
like it comes from a place of wanting you to grow,
Yeah.
and from love, versus
Yeah.
like critiques from the outside where it's like they don't even know who you are,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to like, you know,
Yeah,
be
they're just-
negative in your life.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
might have something else in their life, but they're
Right.
just taking it out on you.
Right, exactly, because everything is projection.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, and so yeah, I do agree. Definitely, like I would be hurt a lot more if like a person, like, you know, one of my
Yeah.
top close friends or family members said something to me versus like a random person
Right.
I barely know.
Right.
But you know, even when it comes to that, and you know, even your own like self perception and what you're doing, like have you like how have you dealt, especially growing a business and like learning to like market it and everything like that, like how do you deal with a lot of this, like you know, maybe potential self-doubt, or I don't know if you even how much you even have that as far as like growing your business and stuff like
I was
that.
like, it's a lot. No, I actually circle myself with friends and family
Yeah.
a lot. Because owning and growing a business is no small feature.
Yeah.
It really isn't. And to, make the decision. So to make the decision, it takes a little bit of a whole thought process of like, do I want this and do I want to do this?
Yeah.
And because like for me, when I first started dancing, I was like, this would be something to do like for life because I love it. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, and maybe one day I'll retire and own a dance studio. That's literally me. 4 years ago, I said that, and I was like, yeah, when I'm like older, like I'll teach,
You'll invest in a studio.
Exactly. And then lo and behold, like 2 years later, everything came like super fast.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, am I gonna do this? Am I gonna jump? Am I gonna do this? And so for me, it's like I've always. I say I'm impulsive, but I'm really not. It's just like plan impulse. Like everything leading up to it has been planned. And then I'm like, yes. Yeah. And so that's actually really planned and organized.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I would say that's definitely something that you have that, a lot of people struggle with. Is courage. Courage to take a risk and do something. Yeah. Because that's scary. Yeah. To not know the other side.
Right. But. And so, I mean, I have, very supportive family. And then, I mean, I cannot say enough about like my mentor. He's like awesome. Yeah. And he like was like, yes, this is something you can do. And like, I see that you love it. And like you have business savvy. He's like, so go for it. Mm-hmm. And so I did it. And then like, that first year, it is a learning curve because it is my first business. Yeah. So it's not like, I think even if you have like some sort of business education or like, savviness, it's still a learning process because like it's now physically yours and you have to, really grow it.
Yeah, and, like you're your boss. Like if even if something else goes wrong through something else or some other part of your business, it's your business. Yeah. It's your fault.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, thank you. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
No, I know. I don't mean to like scare you with that. But it's like I understand that scary thing for anybody who owns their own business. Like especially as it grows and you have to, employ people or, now you have customers. And
so that's the thing. Like I have a brick and mortar, like it's a physical location, so, so learning, how to grow that, being on social media, because for me, social media does not come naturally where I want to like post about my life. Mm-hmm. It was funny because I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, do you know my last post was from last November? Like, and I have to like put on a whole new hat because when you're trying to grow something, especially in this day and age, it's like social media is the way.
Yes.
It's definitely the way. Yeah. It is your friend.
Yeah. And especially for anybody like who's getting into business, it's something that I'm definitely learning to understand. Like we're so fortunate to live in the time that we do because we have social media. Like you could grow any business for literally no money. Yes. It doesn't cost a dime to post anything on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram.
You just it does cost your time.
It costs your time, and that's the
time
thing.
Is money.
Yes. But hey, at least that's you have no excuse for that. Right. As you can find time.
And there's like so many things, so that's why I like definitely know I have to be better about it. Like there's so many avenues to help you if you don't have the time, which I forget what one of them is called, like Planoli for Instagram, Tailwind for Facebook. Like schedule your post things on there so that they upload themselves. You don't have to worry. Yeah.
And luckily you also, and it's one of the big things that I think you're very fortunate of, and especially when you're growing your business, you definitely need a core team. Yes. And that's something you should also be able to delegate with and stuff and help your business grow. Right. I definitely do recommend doing things on social media. I mean, this is how I'm growing this, and I'm learning to experiment and do things because again, I don't know anything about social media. I'm like somebody who I've had my Instagram account
last November.
I've had my Instagram for like 3 years, and I've probably posted like a post a year or whatever. Or something so terrible. And so with me posting now, like I'm learning to take risk and do like, different content for dance and stuff, but in a creative way. Like, literally, even just a thing I did recently, like, I started doing a thing called Tipsy Tuesday, where
I saw with your shot.
Yeah, because I wanted...
You're like, hello.
Oh, yeah, hello, guys. Hey. But, yeah, because I want to have a more creative and fun way to teach, because I feel like everything out in the dance community is very generic, and you're almost getting the same thing everywhere. You only, you go to, it's great to go to a dance studio and do all that stuff, but sometimes you kind of want some entertainment or some other thing.
Something that, and that's the thing, like with so when you're growing, like you have to find your avenue, or like find something that's unique in the social media world. And so I've had to learn to be better about posting, and I'm not the greatest, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. There's no rush to do everything all at once.
But there is one thing that I'm like super excited about. I need to plan it correctly, which I started last year, and it was like artist profiles, because I feel like we like listen to music, but we don't actually like know the artist behind it. And so I've been like I posted 2, and one of them was Spanish Harlem, because I got to see them in concert at the Circus Dome, and I was like, dang, they are so badass. Like, it's so good. And the other one was Ray Barreto. And I was like, oh, okay, like, I'm going to post, like, a little blog about them, and then I was like, and then for like your recommendation, like some songs, like so that you can listen to, and I started it, and then it just hasn't like planned out correctly, so I need to do that. But like that's something like I'm excited to use social media for, because it's like, okay, I can do that. You know?
Yeah, and I definitely understand that. And it's funny, even like the only stint of time where I ever took the time to kind of learn even like certain parts like music and stuff is when I had to learn it, because I had to do it. Like I for a small time at the CLCB Salsa Club. I used to be the quote unquote DJ. I didn't really DJ. I made a playlist and I could play. Early start. But that was literally the only time I really took the time to like learn artist names and learn song names and things like that. And ever since I left that, I recently started to notice, because especially my girlfriend started to like learn how to DJ and stuff, and especially my recent talk with Luis Aragon, I'm just like, I really don't know music anymore. I don't know, like I'll go out and I recognize a song and I'm like, I have no idea. If you were to quiz
me. But you know what? Like the thing is like also you have to think about like where we're located, California. It's like closer to Mexico. So we get a lot of like the banda on like the radio station. So you don't get a lot of salsa, which I get like kind of jealous of, in the sense like New York has a salsa radio station dedicated just for that. Like you just turn it on in your car and it's like bam, it's on. Or like when we like our team, we took a trip to Colombia, and when we danced out there, like it was just so beautiful, because the people, like while the songs were playing, were singing along. So you knew that it was on their radio stations. Like they knew the songs, and it was like, dang, like sometimes I wish that was here. You know, like a radio station dedicated to it.
It's funny. I'm kind of surprised we don't really have that as much here on the West Coast. Especially, well, at least here in our radio stations here in Southern California. But like, I'm honestly hoping it becomes more of a global and even more national stuff. Because like even recently, even just in the general media outside of our like dance community, there's been slowly like more trickling of like just general Latin music. And especially one of the big exposures that I was super happy about, even though I don't really watch it, but the Super Bowl, like the halftime show, like I was super happy that they got to showcase a little bit of salsa, like on a national level, and brought more awareness to our community. And I'm hoping that can, there's enough of us that can promote it more, because we should have our own fucking radio station here.
Yes.
Like shit, like I wish we had more
not just an hour, like a full radio station.
That would be so dope. I wish we had that, but like in a mix
different
of everything,
salsa DJs going on at like different hours,
and not even just salsa. Like I would love like, like what is in our Latin community, like, especially with at least salsa and bachata, but especially for me, I'm enjoying the rise of kizomba and zouk in our community as well. So I would love something that would expose me more consistently about that, without having to like, shoot, I have to look for this music and not know it. But I don't know. Like I actually, yeah, I wish there was more just general exposure. So if you start posting about like, bands and stuff, like, yeah, I'm just like, I gotta save the name now. Like I gotta pay attention to your Instagram posts.
Yeah, that's the thing. So like, you know, so I've had to learn about Instagram, but the other thing, like, because like you're right, I do have a core team or like a core person mentor. He's like, you should learn to do everything. Not that you're gonna do everything, but you learn. So like, he's made it thus far because he's his own like DJ. He's the DJ out in New York, and he does for our socials. He's learned to teach. He put out I think it's called it was in Palm Springs. It was the festival. They did it for 12 years and then they like stopped.
Oh, you mean the salsa extravaganza festival thing?
No. I think it's called Salsa Mambo Festival.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Something different at Palm Springs?
Yeah, it was years ago, like before my time.
Wow, okay.
And I
don't think I've ever heard of it
I was definitely very, very jelly.
That you missed all that?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least for the love of salsa, I obviously the current community, I feel like there's a lot more bachata.
Yes, definitely.
But
like, yeah, and he learned to, like put on events, and basically he learned about music through like musicians, and he's like, you should start to learn those things too, not obviously so you're gonna do all of it, but like so that you have some knowledge for when like you're looking for people. It's like, oh, like I know what this should, like how this should be taught, like this is a great instructor for my students, like that, like
you need to be able to know enough so you can judge when someone's actually good.
Yeah, exactly. And not to tell them like, hey, like you're wrong and how you're teaching. It's more like, okay, like I found a great teacher for my students. Like that.
You need
type
to be able
of,
to recognize talent.
Yeah.
So and then that's and I love that this guy sounds amazing. I feel like I need to meet this guy because
it's the best.
He sounds like a wonderful mentor.
Well, this is why, like, and I go back to like the team thing that I had mentioned earlier, because like, yeah, we've performed out and it hasn't been a lot, but I can always count, like, our team practices are based on like technique and training, and when we're doing choreography, technique is brought into the training. So when I like, read posts about like such controversial stuff, because like people will like say like, oh, you're not like an intermediate dancer if you've been like, those types of things. I'm like, well, like your music director, your dance choreographer director, whatever, should also be teaching you those things. Like when you're learning. Yeah, and there's like because like I feel like I've actually had such a unique experience in that sense, because it's like I've had someone who truly like cares for like us to like really learn to like social dance, and then choreography still comes and it's fun and everything, but it's like it's based and rooted on like social dancing and the love of social dancing.
For the most part and stuff. Obviously there's some people who like
like I said, people come to for dance different reasons,
like
but
that's like one of the big reasons why I've never been like really part of too many dance teams, just because like I recognize in myself that I do this for for social dancing. I don't do it to be a good performer. I don't really I love I love when I get to share the stage with friends and just like anybody else who like loves dance. But my goal is to be a social dancer.
And that was for me. Like I loved social dancing because for me I came into the scene not being like super confident, and so being put out on display for like everyone to judge was not something that I was like completely comfortable with. But joining the team, like I learned how to social dance, like through like technique and all that, and then the choreography came second, and then I was like more comfortable because then you learn confidence through that, because like you have to put on a show, like you have to throw out that energy. So
and not only that, or especially like we can't really judge too many people who are learning through just teams, not like through a structured class, because like and even with teachers, between teachers, like it's hard to compare everybody because everyone comes from different backgrounds. Not everyone is taught, like there's no one course. This is salsa. There's no one course. This is bachata.
Of course.
And so it's it's like there's almost no way that people, like, there aren't lessons or technique stuff that are just going to fall through the cracks and stuff.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's wonderful to try to learn from as many resources as possible.
Right. And then you have to like kind of like create your own avenue for what you want.
Yeah.
Like if, you know, if you want to like performance dance, do it.
Yeah,
like,
there's no shame
yeah,
if that's all you want to do.
Like, do it.
Yeah.
Go find like the best team like that you feel the most comfortable in.
Yeah.
Like, go for it.
Yeah.
And if you want to like social dance, or if you want to learn music, or if you want to learn to DJ, like, go through the avenues, like, learn the processes. Anything that's worth learning is not easy.
Yeah.
And
it's,
so,
it's your journey.
Yeah,
Don't be worried about
exactly.
everyone else, like,
Exactly.
whatever, like, anyone says you should be. Like, even that comment you
Yeah.
mentioned, like, oh, if you're an intermediate,
Yeah.
which,
Like
I'll go back to that
yeah.
in a second. Like, it's like, if
Yeah.
if you're an intermediate dancer, like, you should know this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what, you know, we should just stop judging each other for
Yeah.
where we are. We should
Yeah.
be helping anybody who's missing something. Like, oh yeah, that's a lesson we should learn.
Right.
But yeah, but that comes from, especially, like, we don't have any structure. We don't have any real structure, which has its own benefits, but also its own detriments. Of, like, you know, what is an intermediate dancer? Because
Yeah.
we like, you know, even I don't ever. You know, we use the advanced dancer way too loosely here in the
Yeah.
LA like OC SoCal community.
Definitely.
There's,
Because
like-
then you go out and you see like out of California, out of this bubble, you go and you see an advanced dancer, you're like, that is advanced and I am not there.
I could not perform that kind of technique. And,
Right.
and yeah, and even there, like, you know, I don't even want to overjudge somebody for how
Right.
long they've danced. And
Right.
so, like, and that's one of the big things, like, I hate saying a lot of times that, like, for how long I've been dancing. Like, I've been dancing
Same.
for,
Well, like, you just,
like- yeah, 12 years now, but I don't like saying it, because
Right.
everyone's like, it's like, oh, that's why. Like, no, that's not why. Like,
like, you have no idea. Okay, so when I first went to, I think it was, like, the Salsa Long Beach Club, they were hosting, like, the beach thing. It's where I first met you.
Oh, yeah.
Nancy was like, Nick has been dancing for 8 years. I was like, wow. Like, literally, like, eyes, like, popping out. I was like, dang, so good.
No,
like,
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was, like, the perception. I was like, wow.
Yeah. And, like,
Yeah.
and I think that's just so funny, because, like, you know, there's, like, other people who I know in the community who literally started, like, months, like, apart from when I
Yeah.
did. And they're, like, these big instructors who have dance
Right.
teams and have become
Right.
wonderful teachers and better performers, and in my opinion, better
Yeah.
even social dancers than I am.
Right.
In that same time, but because they devoted more actual training time than I ever
Right.
did. So that's why I don't.
Which is like how, like, I prefaced to you when you asked me, like, oh, how many years have you been in here? I was like, oh, it's been like 5.
Yeah.
But, like, for like 3 full years, I
Yeah.
was going Monday.
Yeah, and like
Yeah.
14, you know,
Yeah.
11-hour day.
I was like
days
14,
and stuff.
20
Yeah.
hours. Yeah.
That's dedication, and so that goes way beyond, like, the years. That goes into, like,
Right.
the actual hours you put into training
Right.
and learning. So
Yeah.
I don't think enough people pay attention to that. Like,
Yeah.
experience isn't in years; it's
Yeah.
in how much actual work you put in.
Right.
And so that's why, like, I don't know, when it comes to that, because that, you know, 5 years is still a lot.
Yeah.
But do you ever, like, have you faced any criticisms as far as, like, maybe you haven't done this long enough, or
Not yet, or to
Yeah.
my face.
Okay.
I was like, no one has, like, gone up to me like, hey.
I'm-
And I also think it's because, like, you know, my students, they're just kind of like, it's so funny. Like, it's hard for me to, like, accept when they're like, oh, like, I want to dance like you. And it's just like, oh, thanks. Like, it gets me, like, really, like, nervous.
yeah, it's weird to be put on the pedestal.
Yes,
You're like,
yes.
I don't belong up here.
Yes. So it's like, I haven't received the criticism yet because I feel like my students think or know that I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Or, like, they see how many hours I've put
Yeah.
into, like, dancing. So not yet.
Okay.
I'm sure with this podcast, people are going to be like, who's this girl? Who is he? Who is
Well,
she?
hopefully they'll check you out and
Yeah.
they'll, like, learn more about you. But yeah, no, and when it comes to, like, you know, even just that recognition and, like, that's one nice thing, at least I haven't experienced too much, not at least social media wise. Like, I
Yeah.
don't see a lot of and I'm very happy that I don't notice personally a lot
Right.
of negativity through to others
Yeah.
online, at least. I don't.
Right.
I mean, I've heard chitter
Yeah,
chatter when
I was
I'm
like,
out and
I've
about.
heard it
I've
too.
definitely heard it, and
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, like I'm very happy at least like it's not super toxic where like it's super widespread with social media and stuff.
Yeah.
We're more of a connected community
Agreed.
in that sense.
Agreed.
But yeah, like even times I feel like we are still very distant, and like especially with you having your studio, like do you focus on like not just like making sure you're teaching your students very well, but do you focus a lot on also making sure and checking up on them? Are they comfortable? Do they feel welcome? Do they, you know,
Yes.
all that
That's
stuff. Like,
all, and that's all a part of, well, being a human being, like,
Yeah.
you know, caring about others, but also like the customer service part
Yeah.
of like your business.
Yeah.
Like you don't function without students, so you
Yeah.
have to make sure that they're comfortable, that they're enjoying the class. Like
Yeah.
you should hear laughter at least once.
in
You know,
every
when you're
class,
when you're teaching, because like you have to break the ice for them.
Yeah.
Thing is like people are coming, they've had long days at work, you know, they're escaping something, and you have to provide that energy for them. So you
Yeah.
have to make it fun, you have to make it safe, you have to make it welcoming. So that's the type of environment that you try to create,
Yeah.
and always try to take feedback from them and try to, you know, improve the class in terms of environment.
Yeah, and I, you know, it's funny. Like I know it's a little easier to build that kind of camaraderie and stuff like
Yeah.
that in through like classes at studios
Yeah.
and even at joining performance teams. I know that's a little difficult for like a lot of us who don't do all that. Like
Yeah.
you know, like luckily I'm a little more of an extroverted like outgoing
Yeah.
person, so I haven't dealt with that kind of issue very much. Although, I mean, I did have the salsa club back in college,
Right.
but like sometimes I'll meet people casually through the dance community, and I'll find out later like we maybe said hi like for like a year straight, and then finally like after a year of knowing each other, like oh like I wanted to hang out more, but I was too afraid because there isn't that safe space in just the general social community to like
Yes.
say hi.
Yeah.
And so I think it's wonderful. I feel like more people need to join these things because
Agreed.
I feel like also you build that humility to like try to just hello, my name is my name is
Yeah,
Nick.
I mean, like in our classes, where the first week we always tell everyone like, all right, like make a circle, grab a partner. Feel free to introduce yourselves. We let them like say hi, I'm blah blah blah, and then like we go over the pattern,
Yeah.
and then we tell them rotate, and then we're like introduce yourselves.
Yeah.
So like they know
Yeah.
who each other is. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was curious, like, if you do, or if you've ever put any thought, like, I don't know how your structure is because I've never been to your studio, but which I've been meaning to check out. I'm sorry. It literally has been
I
on
was
my
like,
mind. I know. It's literally like on my. It's always
He's
on my
like on the
notifications.
to-do list.
Yeah, I know. I'm just like, fuck, another month went by and I didn't do
no
shit.
worries.
It's so bad,
You're fine.
but yeah, like I wonder if like even like I don't know if your classes, if you schedule classes like back to back at all or anything where
We do.
do you ever schedule time in between for them to try to socialize or to try to like more than just like a hi, my name is.
So it's a little more difficult on the weekdays, but the Saturday beginner class that we have at the very end, we tell them, okay, we're going to put a couple songs for you guys to go ahead and practice and like talk to each other.
Yeah.
And usually they do stay behind, and you'll
that's
see
good.
and
Yeah.
you'll see like the like random like person who came by themselves. They'll be like, oh, do you want to like practice? And it's
Oh,
the
that's nice.
best.
That's
It's
great.
the best
Yeah.
because like everyone's so nice. Because everyone knows that they're starting from ground zero. They're all vulnerable. No one's like, I'm too good for this. Like,
Yeah.
all like walls are kind of like dropped, especially when you're coming into like a dance class where it's if you think about it, it's such a strange thing. Like you're coming into a dance class, you're getting in someone's personal space, and you are touching them and like guiding them through a pattern, right?
Yeah.
Where else would you ever be able to do that to
Yeah.
a stranger?
To a stranger, that's true.
Exactly.
That's very true.
So like like guards are dropped, and so people are so nice. Like our students are so nice, and they'll be like, yeah, like let's practice this song. I even have like a couple of students recently they were in my beginner salsa classes on Monday, and it was just like this little group of them, and they like joined. They didn't know each other, and then after, when I was like, "Oh, do you guys want to sign up for like the next 6 week series?" They're like, "Yeah." And then one of the girls learned that the guy was gonna do also the bachata, and she's like, "Oh, like," she's like, "Now that I know I had like one of my friends is like gonna be in it,"
And you're like, I'll do it too.
she's like, "I'll do it too," and I was like, "Oh, that's great." And I told him like, because like when I'm at the front desk, I sometimes tell them like, it's like really great if you guys just like go out with each other instead of like going out by yourselves, because it can be very intimidating.
Yeah.
Going out by yourself.
If you don't know anybody.
And especially when you like see like dancing for the first time in a non-controlled environment, you're just like, wow, like everyone's so good. You kind of just like wall up. And so I'm just like, go with each other. Go with each other, like have fun, and if like you're too intimidated, dance with each other. Like you guys are there. You're having fun.
Each other to fall back on.
And you're having fun. And so I've like seen little like
little pockets of
like friends,
let's go together.
Like they're like so cute, and then you'll see it on social media because like they'll like follow Level Up, and so sometimes I like follow them back, and I'm just like, oh, like they went out together. It's like so great.
No, and I'm glad that you even like that. Not only do you have your dance classes, but you also host a monthly social.
Yes.
Because that also gives them an opportunity, because they're already going to the studio anyway, so it's good.
So this is what we tell them, like whenever the socials are coming by, like, the socials are a great way for you to practice your learning, because no one's going to care if you're like practicing your footwork in the corner. Like, we're not going to tell you anything. And then 2, like you get to dance with all the students in at the studio. And then 3, it's kind of like that safe zone before going out. So like
the main
and honestly, like that's how I started first. Like I didn't go out at all because I was my own little hermit. Like the thing is like I went to school up north, and then I moved back home. And during like a cool bit of time, like I didn't have a job, and I was like, all right, I can't like do this, I can't do that. So like I walled myself up. So salsa was like one of the first things that allowed me to like come out of my shell and like meet other people. But I also didn't have like solid friends to like go out with. So when the studio was like, we're having a social and it's for the students, like it took a lot even then, like the courage to like
get them to actually go,
or like get myself to go. And I wanted my siblings to come so much with me, but like both of them at the time were going to school, my sister for her master's and my brother for his bachelor's, and so like they're like, nah, we don't have time for you. And I'm just like, I don't want to go, and they were kind of like forcing me. They're like, just go, like you'll be fine.
That's funny. And I roped my cousin in dancing that way too.
And I just remember like it was potluck style. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna bring like this dish, and it was so much fun. And then I like leveled up to the club scene. But I was appreciative that I had kind of like the social first before the club, because like at the studio and the social, I made friends, and then we went out together, kind of like my little pockets of students. Like I was one of those pocket students that like
grouped out and like went out into the wild.
And then I was like, oh, okay, this is great. Like it's so much fun.
Like even my early days, like I'm just like, I remember that's like really what like broke me out, because like during during that time when I had that video where I wasn't really at the level that I am now, and even now I'm like, I still have room to grow, but even at that point that was like right before I had the growth, like the big growth where I noticed it. Like I was steady, like getting better and better, but I didn't feel like I hit a knee where like progress was like more significant until like that year when I made like this small group of friends that were just like, we're all gonna go here, we're all gonna go here. We literally started a group chat, and we would always like tell each other, and even we still have it to this day, like who's
That's
going
excellent.
here, like I want to know, because I want to go where my friends are.
Right.
And so I think that's like amazing.
Because it's like you make the event at that point.
And so like I don't know, I think from everything that I'm hearing, you're doing a really wonderful job with your students and stuff. Like, I mean, obviously, I definitely need to drop by whenever I can. At the very least, to one of your monthly socials. I know. Believe me, I'm getting better with schedules and timing and stuff.
Yeah.
That's my own growth thing. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Like, is there any other like experiences that you feel like you've had that like you think you've really learned that like we haven't really touched, like as far as like you growing through business and like learning this whole like how to grow and learning from your studio experience, or even just from dancing in general? Like, I don't know if there's anything that you feel.
I mean, I for sure, like through dancing, like I've grown significantly.
Yeah.
I mean, like I told you, I was a little hermit, and
Yeah.
then you know, dance helped me with like confidence,
Yeah.
not just it at the dance floor, at the studio. It was like in personal life, because I was able to carry myself like more with like my shoulders back and my
Yeah.
head up, because I was like, yeah, like I have something. You
This
know?
is what I know I can do.
But also just being comfortable with being like put on display. Like
Yes.
after having like the Team Avenue, it was just like, okay, you have to be like comfortable with people watching you and like criticizing you if they didn't like it. 'Cause
Yeah.
someone's always gonna have an opinion.
Yeah.
So it definitely helped me with that, and then just to be a little more social, because yeah, I am definitely introverted, and I know like someone once told me I have like resting smile face, because like I'm always like, it's just like natural, it just happens. But
That's
like
great.
but I do understand, like I know myself, and when I go into like situations where like I'm slightly like uncomfortable, like I'll get silent.
Yeah.
And then so I know that even though like I'm smiling, sometimes I'm just silent, or like if I'm out on like a dance floor and I'm just kind of like watching everything, I'm like quiet. And so it's just like learning to be self-aware of like what's going on outwardly.
Yeah.
You know,
No.
I've learned that, and I've like gained friendships from it. Like I am super super appreciative for what dance has like given me. And when I, you know, through growing my business, or like the philosophy that I put out there, it's more along the lines like I want to give people what dance gave me.
Yeah.
Like the confidence, the calmness, friendships. Like I just want someone who just like feels like they're also hermited to feel like, dang, like I have a community, or I have like friendships here, I have something that's like family to me.
I have a space to go out and like grow and stuff.
Yeah.
And I do agree with you. Like I feel like dance, at least for me as well, I felt like even though I was always kind of more of an extroverted person, it still like broke me even further. Like even I was still shy, but I had those extroverted tendencies. But I didn't ever really fully grow out of my shell and become more of who I am today if it wasn't for dance. And I'm very thankful for some of my closest friendships and you know some of my biggest lessons through dance, or at least I can attribute some part of it to dance.
Right.
And so and that's why I want to push it more. Like I want to grow it more, because the lessons you learn through dance really kind of are very applicable to the rest of your life. So. And
then the lessons that I learned through business is, you know, you have to trust yourself, and you have to be able to really assess and take things in and be truthful with yourself, and know like I'm gonna grow this. You have to have faith in yourself. Like you have to really push yourself. Like be secure in your own self. Is basically that. And there's, you know, a lot that comes with it, because, you know, as women, we do face uncertainty or the imposter syndrome. Like, oh my God, that happens to me a lot. You know,
even more heavily, especially in
a male-dominated industry. Oh yes, of course. And it's even like navigating, just like being comfortable with like saying like I'm an owner. You know, like being comfortable even saying that, because
it's scary.
You know that I love my students, but you know sometimes like someone will come at me and will say something, and I'm just like, oh, I try to correct. And they kind of like brush me aside. And it's like having to learn how to be direct, but also be like, no, like I'm telling you this for a reason. Like, you know.
Like to take the criticism, not internalize the bad, but do what you can to make the best out of the situation.
Exactly. And yeah, it's just, you know, we faced a lot of challenges, but it's possible, and I do want like a lot of women to come into like this industry and show like what we have, like because it's amazing. Yeah.
And I feel like just like anything, we need, you know, equal representation.
Yeah.
You know, especially, I mean, I feel like we sometimes even have more women in the dance community than we do men sometimes. But.
Yeah, we do. So that's why I'm just like, let's get it.
Yeah, let's represent just like everyone else.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, and I'm really happy. I'm really glad that you have your business, and obviously I'm very hopeful for, you know, for you to continue to grow it and, you know, be, you know, even more successful like next year.
Yeah. I mean, I think I'll definitely have more insight and stories like after a few years to like give you like more perspective. Yeah. But for now, I'm like, man, it's great, it's rewarding, but it's also tough.
Yeah.
And right now is like tax season, so it is like finances is my life.
Oh, numbers.
Yeah. You know, the thing is like, I also still have my regular job. So like I'm doing two.
Oh wow, you're balancing. Okay,
yeah. This is why I told you that my time was limited, because like I have my 8 to 5, and then I like go home, and then I get ready, and then I go to the dance studio at 7 to like 10:30 or 11. And so like that is the Mondays and Thursdays is like my like busiest days. Tuesdays I still have classes. Wednesday is when I have like my break, but that's when I'm like, all right, I'm gonna work out. and then you know, Friday is like my free day. Yeah. And that's when it's like finances. Yeah. Like, here we go.
This is where I punch in the rest of the things on my to-do list.
And then Saturday is classes. And then after is like, okay, did I plan to like go out? This is why I told you I was like, I plan it.
Yeah, gotta have everything scheduled. Otherwise things don't get
and then
done.
Sunday's like completely free, which is like the greatest, but also that's the time I'm like catching up.
Yeah, so like, it's not really downtime.
It's really not. So, like, that has been me. And this is why, like, I also took longer to, like, post about it. Because it's, like, that has been my, like, year and a half. Because I started the venture, like, half a year before. And then it was official.
So, I understand any business owner. Because it's, like, it's so time consuming. It's so hard. So, that's why I never want to judge. Like, obviously, there's things, like, you know, obviously you could do... that could potentially help your business or you yourself. Yeah. But again, there's only so many hours in the day to get everything done. So that's why I feel like you're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, thank you.
I really thank you for everything you've like shared with us. Like I really enjoyed this conversation. And yes, I would obviously always love to have you back if there's any more experiences or any more thoughts you'd like to share. Yeah. But quickly, before we wrap things up, I always like to ask my guests to ask a question, any question that you would like to ask the dance community. It doesn't have to be dance related, but it could literally be any question you would like to send out. And I need to be better also at posting this separately, so that way people can actually respond to it instead of digging like at the end of like these like sometimes hour-long episodes. But yeah, what's a question you'd like to ask that maybe you know they can reach out to you or even you know the podcast or you know. Or even ask themselves. What would you like to have them ask and learn?
I want them to ask themselves and then to also tell me and then to also learn. What is your favorite song to dance to versus listening to?
Ooh, that's good.
Because
that's not always the same.
It's not the same. Yeah. Because when there's such thing as listening salsa music versus dancing. That's
true.
Salsa music.
That's very true.
So which one?
What's your favorite?
Yeah, like what and what's like your go-to song? Yeah.
Okay, that's a good question. Yeah. I like that. And so thank you so much for spending the time to talk to me today, especially with that hectic schedule. So thank you. And and just for anybody who wants to follow you and stuff. Where can they find your business or just you in general if they want to follow more about you?
So for the business, it's for Instagram, it's at leveluplb, and then for myself, I feel like I have to spell it out, but it's like at Erika with a K _ Roxana with 2 A's, because it's like my middle name.
No problem.
But it's only one A. But the thing is like it was already
Take
taken.
it. I know.
So,
I know social media names
yeah.
are so much. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyone who's interested, please follow her.
Yeah.
And support her business because we definitely need to encourage more of our women
Yay.
entrepreneurs and business owners.
I was like, I hope I didn't talk like too much nonsense, guys. Sorry.
Oh my goodness. No,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of value that people
Yeah.
got from this. So for everyone, thank you so much for listening. I hope you did get some value out of this. And yes, thank you so much for spending time with me.
you.
And I hope you see us both on the dance floor.
Yay.
All right, guys. Bye-bye.
It'll be so much fun.